Hi, this is Colin from the History Pilgrim. I hope you've been enjoying my videos and I'd be interested to hear your comments. Be sure to like and share with a friend. I have another interesting historical video. I hope you enjoy. William Shakespeare, widely regarded as the greatest playwright in the English language, was born in the market town of Stratford-upon-Avon, England in 1564. The exact date of his birth is unknown, but given that he was baptized on April 26, it suggests he was born a few days earlier. Stratford, located in Warwickshire, was a bustling town known for its trade fairs and proximity to the River Avon. William was the third of 8 children born to Jonathan Shakespeare, a local glove maker. His father's business provided them with a stable, though not affluent social standing. Jonathan Shakespeare served as an alderman and eventually as the town's bailiff, which exposed young William to the workings of local government, public spectacle, and the intricate social hierarchies of Elizabethan England. These early experiences likely informed the playwright's acute understanding of politics, power, and human behavior that would permeate his works. Education played a central role in William Shakespeare's formative years. Shakespeare almost certainly attended King's New School in Stratford, a grammar school that emphasized classical studies. William Shakespeare's marriage to Anne Hathaway, a woman from a nearby village named Shottery, is one of the earliest known facts about the playwright's personal life. The couple was married in November 1582, when Shakespeare was 18 and Hathaway was 26. Between 1582 and when Shakespeare first appeared as a playwright in London is known as the lost years. During this roughly 7-year span, no records definitively document his activities, leading scholars to speculate about what might have influenced his plays. One possibility is that Shakespeare worked as a school teacher, either in Stratford-upon-Avon or a nearby town. This would have allowed him to continue his classical education and develop the skills necessary in rhetoric and literature, which later shaped his works. Another suggestion is that he may have traveled through the countryside or even abroad, perhaps engaging in theatrical work or even acting in traveling theater troupes or studying performance and staging strategies. The precise moment William Shakespeare arrived in London remains largely unknown, yet the pieces we do have allow scholars to piece together a compelling picture of a young man, ambitious, curious, and not yet famous, making his way into the competitive theater scene of Elizabethan England. London, then, was a city which was expanding rapidly, with its population swelling with merchants, migrants, and those seeking fortune in the arts. Theaters had recently become a cultural force. To a young man interested in performance, storytelling, and upward mobility in society, London offered a perfect stage. When Shakespeare first appeared in the city, he was not yet a celebrated playwright, but a newcomer trying to find his footing. During the late 16th century, London's theatrical culture was expanding rapidly, yet it was also precarious, shaped by fluctuating leases, patronage, and the persistent threat of civic opposition. Shakespeare's ascent as both a playwright and an actor were closely tied to these circumstances. By the late 1590s, the London theater scene was in a period of transition. The city's first public playhouses had become increasingly popular with audiences across different social classes. In 1598, one of London's prominent stages, the theatre, lost its lease, creating an opportunity for the creation of new theatrical ventures to fill its void. With the lease for the theatre expired, Lord Chamberlain's acting company had no venue. This meant the acting troupes could no longer rely on a reliable income and risked fragmentation of the men going off to different companies. William Shakespeare became affiliated with Lord Chamberlain's men. This provided him with a stable platform to produce and perform his plays, as well as access to the elite audiences and influential networks of London. Shakespeare's experience as a playwright meant he could draw audiences with the compelling narratives, rich characters, and innovative wordplay. Their performances were staged in venues which ranged from public playhouses to the private halls of paying patrons. Over the course of the summer of 1599, the company dismantled the theatre and carefully moved all of the building's materials across the Thames to Southwark, an area outside the relative jurisdiction of London. On this new site, the Globe Theatre was constructed. Its circular design allowed for a better audience and better acoustics. The Globe's permanent status gave Shakespeare a sense of authority with Lord Chamberlain's men. Many of Shakespeare's most enduring works, such as Hamlet, Twelfth Night, and Othello, were performed at the Globe. The Globe Theatre's success can be attributed to several factors. First, it offered a stable and dedicated venue for Lord Chamberlain's men, allowing them to stage his plays consistently. Second, the theater's innovative design enhanced the theater experience, particularly for Shakespeare's works, which often relied on direct engagement with the audience. Third, the Globe Theatre's location in Southwark, just outside the strict jurisdiction of the City of London, provided the company with relative freedom from municipal restrictions, enabling them to attract a large audience with relative freedom. Before the Globe, acting companies faced instability due to limited access to a permanent playhouse. Chamberlain's men had to rely on temporary or borrowed venues, which conflicted with scheduling performances. With the Globe, Chamberlain's men could finally schedule consistent performances and experiment with new material. One of the earliest major plays performed at the Globe was Julius Caesar. At the end of the Tudor period, questions about the nature of political power were deeply relevant. This play offered audiences a dramatic exploration of Republican ideals, assassination, and the fragility of democracy. Accounts from the period report that during a particularly dramatic assassination scene, the crowd gasped so loudly that people outside thought a riot had broken out. The performance of Hamlet at the Globe was significant for an entirely different reason. It marked a transformation in how audiences understood a character and integrity. Hamlet introduced an entirely new psychological complexity to English drama. Through soliloquies such as "to be or not to be," Shakespeare offered unprecedented access to characters' inner lives, which allowed audiences to witness doubt, grief, rage, and philosophical contemplation. The influence of Hamlet on the very concept of the tragic protagonist traces back to these performances. Equally important was Romeo and Juliet, one of Shakespeare's earliest tragedies. Before this play, tragic love stories existed, but none had the emotional depth or realism which he brought to life. The play humanized romance and youthful impulsiveness, making the characters relatable and believable rather than symbolic. Few individuals in the history of the English language have shaped it as profoundly as William Shakespeare. Shakespeare contributed not only to its vocabulary, but to its idioms, expressive possibilities, and emotional depth. His influence is so excessive that many modern speakers use his words without realizing it. Shakespeare is recognized for the creation of hundreds of different words. Scholars estimate that he coined or first recorded over 1,700 words, many of which are still in use today. Words such as gloomy, majestic, lonely, and assassination are still in use today. Some of these emerged from his willingness to turn verbs into nouns or adjectives into verbs, while others were the result of combining familiar terms in new ways. This showed that the playwright understood language as not fixed but alive and capable of adapting to new ideas. Even more influential is his lasting impact on phrases and expressions. Common expressions such as break the ice, heart of gold, wild goose chase, faint-hearted, and in a nutshell can be traced back to these plays. As Shakespeare's plays were published and performed and taught for centuries, these expressions filtered into everyday speech and became part of the shared linguistic heritage of English speakers around the world. Shakespeare also played a crucial role in standardizing English during a period of linguistic transition. English at the time did not have formal grammar or spelling. In education, Shakespeare's plays and sonnets have long been required reading. The influence of his writing persists. Because his work is part of literary study, writers learn from him, actors perform his work, and his vocabulary influences so many works of literature and film. The continued influence of his work culturally ensures that his influence remains alive. In conclusion, William Shakespeare's legacy lives on, not simply because of all the plays he wrote, but his influence on the English language and his creation of the modern concept of theater. Shakespeare's works continue to challenge, inspire, and connect with audiences throughout the world. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe for more history videos. Sincerely, the History Pilgrim.